It must be crazy dealing with different personalities in a co-living home. You need to have more bathrooms and maybe a way to even split the house in two. Too many unknowns to have 10 housemates in one house. So ladies and gentlemen, that was a Facebook comment that I got on one of my ads. And to be honest, there's some truth to what they shared. First of all, you don't need to split the house in two. I don't understand. Why would you have to split the house in two? You know, it's really, really interesting because I had 8 brothers and sisters. So including me, there was 8 kids and 2 parents. So in a 1,900 square foot house, I lived with 10 people and it worked. And of course we had little tiffs and whatever, but it worked. Right? And of course, in a perfect world, my parents would have gone and bought a 5,000 square foot house to fit us all. But we couldn't afford a 5,000 square foot house. Someone told me the other day, they said, Sam, I don't know. Having 10 people in a home is like, it's not the ideal living situation. I said, I'm not in the ideal living situation. My house is only 5,000 square feet. I need 10,000. Like that's ideal. And preferably I need it in West Palm Beach on the ocean. So of course it's not an ideal living situation, but we're doing the next best thing. We're solving the problem for somebody who needs something. That's part of being an entrepreneur is we solve problems. And so guys, when you think about co-living or shared housing or where you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people sharing a home, yes, there can be some challenges. There can be some unknowns, but I've spent a decade and a half getting to know those unknowns and creating systems, mark that keyword, to overcome some of those. So here's a couple of the systems that you have to have in place. You do need a system that has at least, in my opinion, no more than 3 bedrooms sharing 1 bathroom. We call it the 3-to-1 bedroom to bathroom ratio. If you go over that, what we found is it just can create even more tension and more problems. If you keep that ratio, then you're going to eliminate a lot of your problems. The second thing you need as far as a system is you're going to need a parking plan. Now for homes with us, as long as we're close to some public transportation, we've only found about 50 to 70% of our members actually will even have a car. And so most of the time we don't have, if there's 10 people sharing a house, there might be 7 cars there or even 5 cars there. But then when you add on top of that, the fact that somebody's working first shift, somebody's working second shift, somebody's working third shift, someone's spending the night with grandma, someone's spending the night with their significant other, you might have 1 or 2 cars there. I can't tell you how many times I've driven by one of my 10-bedroom homes at a time where I feel like everybody should be home and there's 2 cars and that's it. And I'm like, where is everybody? Because people are busy. People are living in the home, but then they're out. They're living their life. They're working. They're having fun. They're doing whatever they do outside of the home, right? And so for that to be said, you don't always have to think about cars. Cars is not as big of an issue as you might think. Now, do you need to think that through? Of course, you need a parking plan. So that's the second tip is you need a parking plan. You need to understand if this is room 1 needs to park here and room 2 needs to park here and room 3 is going to park on the street right here. Now, are the neighbors going to love that? Well, if you're putting this in a neighborhood that is really bougie, then you're probably putting this house in the wrong neighborhood. You need to be thinking about this neighborhood as, is this neighborhood a good fit for what I'm trying to accomplish? You know, if I drive through a neighborhood, and I'll just be really honest with you guys and very transparent, if I drive through a neighborhood and I see the grass a little long and I see someone kind of pulled off in the front of their grass, they're kind of parking on their grass and, I'm like, hey, this neighborhood's probably okay for co-living. But if I go into a neighborhood and it's straight lines and it looks like there's a nice, big, strong HOA in this neighborhood that's keeping everybody in line with perfectly white fence posts and mailboxes, then that is not the right neighborhood for co-living. You guys understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, so you have to have those systems. The other systems that you have to have is room numbers. Another system you have to have is you have to label everything in the refrigerator and the freezer space. You give everybody a shelf, a cabinet. You try to keep as much order as you possibly can. Everybody has their own individual locks. And then you have to have a headphones hour system, right? So I'm giving you some of these systems, guys, that you need to have in place so that the unknowns go away. The unknowns will go away if indeed you create and you put some of these things in place. Now, if you want to learn all the systems that I put or a lot more of the systems that I put in place on these homes, then all you have to do is just go sign up for our next 5-day challenge. It's a free 5-day event. It's an hour or 2 a day where we train you on how you can be investing in co-living real estate. Now, there are some additional nuances. There is some additional work, but so is running an Airbnb. So is running any business that's profitable, that's successful. There's some work to it. And so while I'm not saying that this is for everybody, what I am saying is that we're doing 2 main things here with co-living. You as the investor are getting to triple or maybe quadruple or at the very minimum double the cash flow that you would receive if you rented out to a single family. So that's great, right? That's great news. I'm getting to financial freedom. I'm getting to my financial goals faster, a lot faster. Maybe even with 3 or 4 or 5 homes, whereas normally I might have to have 50 homes. That's pretty crazy. The second thing we're doing is we are solving workforce housing. We're solving affordable housing. And it's not just me saying this. The U.S. Department for Housing and Urban Development came out with a statement on January 15th of 2021 and said, we believe co-living can help solve affordable housing. We will now allow government vouchers to be used for rooms instead of just whole apartments or whole homes. So there's momentum behind this, not just Sam Wiegert saying this. This can solve a real problem. So in summary, while co-living may have some nuances to it, you may need to add a bathroom to get that 3-to-1 ratio. Ultimately, you're doing good, and you as the investor are doing even more amazing. And while it's not for everybody, I believe you can eliminate most of the unknowns through systems, and having followed someone like me who's done this for over almost a decade and a half, and who understands what the unknowns can be, so that you can go ahead and do this in a successful way with as least amount of resistance as possible. Hopefully this video was helping you, inspiring you to take some action, or join us on our 5-day challenge where you can learn how to create financial freedom through co-living real estate.